So it's the Lionsgate today, right? And so everyone's talking about it, but what does it mean? Like, what is it? And I've got these four questions. What is this gate? First of all, what it's a portal of some sort, or like, what is the gate? And secondly, what's it a gate from and a gate into? I think a lot of times people fill it in like, oh, it's a gate for manifestation, and so I can like get a new car. So, but I have the sense that it's something more significant than that, and that we've been preparing for this moment for a long time. And my third question is, why is it a Lionsgate? What's unique about this being a Lionsgate? And fourthly, what's required to be able to go through it, and who can go through it, and what might prevent someone from going through it, and how do you know where it is and where to find it, and like really some nitty gritty like questions, like just besides just meditating or whatever, like, is there something you can do to approach this gate, right? And so I thought I'd ask some of my friends slash guides that I consult often, and four came to mind specifically, four visionaries whose central image is a lion. And one of those is C.S. Lewis. The other is Nietzsche, who talked about the three metamorphoses from a camel to a lion, confronting the dragon and then becoming a child. But this lion was the central transformation in the whole process, and he used a lot of metaphors. And then someone similar but quite different is Carl Jung. And when he underwent his most major metamorphosis into like his individuation, he writes in the Red Book that his face turned into a lion, right? And like in his active imagination. And also he wrote much about the green lion, especially the green lion that eats the sun. Very interesting, as this central alchemical image of the green lion eating the sun. And then fourthly, of course, is the lion of the tribe of Judah. Okay, and that's, Yeshua, Jesus. So I want to look at these four, but also look at the four primary symbols: the gate, and the lion, and the sun, and the figure eight, the limonskate, the infinity symbol, but also the four different ways of reading, the four orientations that Jung talks about, the four orientations of the consciousness. It's four, or the medieval four levels of reading, or the four causes. So that not just to look at this on just the literal or just the spiritual level, but if we look at it on these all four levels, because I think it's really this important. And also the four types of players in this game. So these are my questions, and I'm really setting this out as a sort of playground, or a stage that we can get on the stage and move through the stages, because I have this deep resonation with the fact that this is going to be an experience. This is not going to be just an intellectual thing. This is not going to be something like, oh, now I understand it. It's going to be something that needs to be moved through and experienced at every level. Okay, so I'm inviting everyone to a conversation Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific time, the 10th. So we're still in the Lionsgate at that time, and it's 2 days before the eclipse on the 12th. And I invite you to come and just reflect on these questions. And this is not me giving a lecture. This is us having a magnamind, a collective conversation where we are really bringing our collective wisdom to this. And this is partly or majorly because I think that this portal is going to be something that is made easier if we do it collectively rather than individually. There's going to be an individual choice, but there's also going to be a collective momentum that allows the individuals to do it, and the individuals doing it will help the collective to be able to do it. So it's not a hive mind. It's not just this purely isolated spiritual journey, but it's a combination of the one and the many. So I'm just going to go briefly over this just to sort of set the stage for this conversation, right? These are some areas we can move through. And so I invite you just to write down anything that comes to mind, and write down anything that comes to your heart, and write down anything that comes to your gut, and write down anything that you feel inspired to do or to act upon, right? Because I don't want us just to read on the literal level. In fact, most of what I'm going to be saying is beyond the just literal level, especially as I'm making these different connections. But I think there is a level that this affects us on the physics level. We're really talking about, this actual big ball of plasma in the sky, but also like gates that we have like this one, but also the heart gates, and also the archetypal gates, and also the mystical gates. So I invite you to read this in multiple levels, not just get stuck on the literal level. Okay, so these are the 4 questions, and let me just run through like these 4 key thinkers first, and just kind of show, okay, the last battle, just remember there's this gate at the end, and there's a lion at that gate, right? And this is the culmination of the entire Chronicles of Narnia. This is book 7. This is the end of book 7, and it's the sort of final chapter, but it is also the gate from the Shadowland Narnia to the real Narnia, the Narnia that has more muchness. Whatever you have, if you've got grass, it's greener and lusher, and if you've got wine, it has more suchness of that wine. And so and the mountains are more, it's not just that they're bigger, it's they have more reality to them, right? And so there's this gate, but there's also this fear of going into the gate. Well, this is interesting. This gate looks a lot like this gate. So there's this fear about going into it, right? In fact, it's set up as like, don't go in there. It's a trap. They're going to kill you. So there's a certain amount of faith required to go through it. And it doesn't, you could walk around it and it's like, hey, what's on the other side of this door? And it's just a door, but the gate is still a gate to a whole new world. And this is what I find really fascinating. And because we're in an age of suspicion, we're in a trust crisis. We don't know who to trust. Christians can't even trust Christians. There's like hundreds and hundreds of different denominations, and almost all of them think that they're the only way to Christ. And you've got to say these words and do these actions, and if you do that, you're not in. And if you do this, you're not in. And so there's a whole lot of blind belief that may be preventing us from actually getting to faith. So this is represented beautifully in the story by this fake lion. He's actually a donkey. He's an ass in lion's skin, right? And this guy, Shift, this ape, he's a conniving, shifty fellow, and he disguises this donkey as Aslan and says, "Oh, I'm the spokesman for Aslan," and he manages to convince a lot of people. A lot of Narnians even are going, "Oh, I guess this must be okay," and he's able to do a whole bunch of things that Aslan would never do, like cut down all the talking trees and enslave all the talking beasts, and bring degradation to Narnia, and all in the name of power and greed, and yet it's being done in the name of Aslan. And I can't help but think of like the Crusades, like we're going to go rape and pillage and plunder and kill in the name of God. God wills it. It kind of gives us this extra confidence to do something that our conscience might not let us do. And so that's the way that this is portrayed. And so I think this puzzle will be a key piece for us understanding, right? Okay, well, if we see this gate as the gate to the new world, the new heaven and the new earth, like, then who gets to go in? Who gets to go out? Well, Aslan's standing there at the door, and anyone can come in who wants to, right? But still, there's a lot that choose, or there's some that choose not to, right? There's some who were followers of this Aslan who are so intimidated by this that they don't go through it, right? As Aslan said, I'm good, but I'm not safe, but I'm good. I'm not a tame little stuffed toy that you can just wear around your neck like a charm to sort of bless whatever you want to be doing. It's this, it is this real live entity that can be pretty frightening, right? And he's standing at the door. So it's the Lion's Gate. And So if you're going to go through, you have to face Aslan. And the one that I think is really interesting is the one who's a Calormen. Like the Calormen are the people that are attacking Narnia and who have this false god Tosh. And the Calormen, there's this one Calormen that he thought Tosh was a good god, and he looks at Aslan and he wants to go in. He said, but hey, can I come in? But I'm full of shame and grief. And Aslan says, no, what you did for good, you did, even though you did it in the name of Tosh, you did it for me. Just like those who did things in the name of Aslan that were deep down against the spirit of Aslan found it difficult to go through. Now, even some of those were able to go, oh, we were fooled. So, okay, I guess you're the real one. But it's going to be a time of disclosure. It's going to be a time of, I think we're all going to be a bit surprised. We're all going to have some beliefs that we thought we were damn sure that we were damn right. And turns out we were damn wrong. And if we hang on to those beliefs, it's going to damn us. And it's not going to be anyone else damning us, but it's going to be a belief that we just are so certain that we can't let go of and drop it at the door and walk through. So this is C.S. Lewis's imaginative. Now, he famously did debates like trying to prove Christianity, and he lost one to Anscombe, and that's when he realized, like, people are not going to be convinced with arguments, and this isn't going to work. And that's when he set about to write these, to capture the imagination. So this is just a key Lionsgate, right? There's no more explicit Lionsgate in literature than this one. And then it's also interesting because it's the end of time. Father Time right here wakes up. And this has implications too, because Father Time, who's Father Time? It's Kronos. It's Saturn, right? The Saturnian Yaldabaoth demiurgic. Like, well, what do we do? Well, yeah, he doesn't come in, but he turns into something else, and he announces the end of the world. And it's not like everyone has to like, oh, let's go kill Father Time because he's the one that got us stuck here, right? And we've been stuck in this false shadowland all this time. And since he was the guardian of this place, allowing people to learn, allowing people to get more substance so that they could get to the place where they could go through. Like, it's almost like they weren't ready to go through the gate yet. So this was like a nursery school, or just a school for becoming, right? Or a big cocoon that, and Father Time was sort of like the outer shell protecting this and keeping the cocoon enclosed so that it could do its transformation. As painful as that has perhaps been for anyone in this cocoon, right, who's been like the least bit awake, right? And so, but here's the mass of people just coming through in this great celebration, and they start making this big march deeper and deeper into deeper realms of the true Narnia, right? And it's not like Narnia was not real. It was just less real. It was Shadowlands. It's like Plato's cave. We were in the cave. We were watching shadows of cutout images projected on the cave wall. So it's a very like coming out of the cave sort of imagery that Lewis is giving us, right? At that, and these are more just questions that invite reflection and invite us to, like, how do we resonate with it, or do we not? Does this wake something up in us or not? It's about listening to the music of these stories and the music of these images more than anything. And so now let's look at Nietzsche, right? He speaks of the camel, the lion, and the child. So these are the three metamorphoses. And I like to think of these as all of these as four bases. We have these four quadrants. We have the four elements. We have the four directions. We have the four primary archetypes of warrior, lover, sovereign, and magician. And you have the four primary temperaments, and you have the four personality types, whether it's Kiersey or Hippocrates or any of like 20 others, like DISC, like these. It always comes in these four, in the medicine wheel of four. So, or I even went to a Four-Square church, right? The Four-Square Gospel, right? These four images, or the four Gospels of the New Testament, and the eagle and the child and the lion and the ox, right, representing the four quadrants. So Nietzsche takes these and he says there are three metamorphoses, and he starts out the first lines of his most famous book, Thus Spake Zarathustra, and the first three lines, the first line is, three metamorphoses of the spirit do I designate to you, how the spirit becomes a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. And the lion has to face the dragon, but this is first base, this is second base, and this is third base, right? And so what are these, right? For him, the camel is taking on the burdens. It's being the hero, and the burdens of the beliefs. You could see these as all the beliefs, all the dogmas, the 10 commandments. And then, there's more commandments. There's more rules. And then there's my family rules. And then there's my church rules. And then there's my government rules. And then there's all these rules, and just got to do. Well, I can do it. And I was that sort of kid that really thought it was possible. And I really, really tried really hard for really long, and it was amazing how much I could carry. But there still comes this point where it has to transform into the lion, and then the lion faces the dragon. And what's the dragon? The dragon is not our passions, as it's sometimes seen, like with St. George and the dragon, killing the dragon, but it's the dragon is the thou shalts. It's all the dogmas. And the lion just has to go, no, I am free. I will, right? And thus, Nietzsche's will to power, this drive to life, this conatus, is something that is the transformation. And notice that the lion doesn't kill the dragon. All it has to do is say no, right? And the lion being able to say no. Like, so many of us are wondering, what do we do in the face of all the corruption that's coming out just at blinding speed and blinding enormous amounts? What do we do with all this corruption? Well, I can't just ignore it, but am I supposed to go protest it? Am I supposed to go get my pitchfork and go kill somebody in revenge? What am I supposed to do? And he says, you just need to say no. And then he's able to turn into the child, the second naivete. Rikura talks about the first naivete, which is childishness, the simplicity of childishness. And then there's the complexity. It's like, those rules don't work. They contradict each other, and it's impossible to follow them. And sometimes following the rules leads you to do things that are worse than not following the rules. And we reach this, we go from orientation to disorientation, as Walter Brueggemann, the New Testament scholar, talks about in the Psalms. Some of the Psalms are orientation. We're oriented, and we're orienting, and we're following the rules. This is orientation, and this is disorientation, where we're like, no, it's not working. This is where maybe the disorientation is where the camel just collapses and then turns into the lion, and the lion just says, no, thank you. And or it's like Luke turning off the automatic pilot and going, no, I'm going to follow the force. The force can direct me. It doesn't mean I'm going into chaos and I'm going to just go do whatever I want. It means that the lion doesn't become this raging beast that just goes and takes whatever it wants. The lion actually becomes the child. So it's the second naivete. It's like the Quakers always do these drawings of the peaceable kingdom from Isaiah, and it said, and the lion shall lie down with the lamb, and the child shall lead them. Right? It's going to be a peaceable kingdom. Right? There's not going to be this gnashing, fighting of teeth, fighting and gnashing of teeth. And, it's not going to be some Hobbesian, brutish, nasty and short life where it's a war of all against all. Like, we're going to supersede that. That's what we're moving from. That's what the gate is. It's from this world that's just collapsing on itself and just eating itself up. But it seems just at this moment where it seems the worst, it's like the caterpillar is just being dissolved. The caterpillar doesn't just like grow some wings. The caterpillar literally dissolves into this goo, and its DNA transforms. Like it can you imagine that stage? What if we're in that? We've been going through that stage, and what if this is now our time to just bust out of that egg? Finally we go, no, no, I'm not going to be in here anymore. But we still think that we're still thinking like caterpillars, and this is the moment where we need to shift and just take the wax out of our ears and listen, right? And this is that's Nietzsche. So we'll go more into that if you want. But the third one is Carl Jung. And in the Red Book, I just had it here. In the Red Book, Carl Jung, that is, writes his most intimate tellings of the workings of his soul. And it wasn't even published until many years after his death. But in it, he tells of the deepest transformation that he has. And in that moment, his face turns into a lion, right? And it's like this deification. It's like the lion of the god of Mithras. But yet this lion is this sign of royalty and transformation and becoming Christ-like. It's like, oh, I'm being made in the image of Christ, is really, and Salome even says, oh, you've become a Christ. And this is what this transformation perhaps is. Could it be that what Jesus said, like, you can be like me and even greater, like, and the kingdom of heaven is within you? Like, what if that is what we're doing here? We now have this invitation to, the door's open wider than it's ever been. It used to be this one at a time, one would achieve this impossible task and be worshipped. But then Jesus himself maybe even going, no, I'm wanting you to follow me, not worship me. I want you to follow me. Do what I do, think what I am the way. I'm not a what, I'm a way. Yes, I am a what, I'm a human being, but I'm the way to the Father, right? And so Jung got turned into this, his face turned into a lion. And so that's significant. But also he speaks of the green lion, which is everywhere in alchemy. In fact, this phrase right here around, that's over the head of this lion that's eating the sun and it's bleeding, that image right there is, the green lion is this raw state of the consciousness, the conscious mind that goes through this process of looking at the four parts of consciousness, and usually one of them is inflated and rigid and egoic, and one of them's deflated and missing, and the other two are in some in-between state. But this state, let me get this quote here. Where is it? Oh wow. Yeah, it basically says, the green lion, if you understand the green lion, you'll understand everything about the alchemical process, right? And so here it is. And it's interesting. We've got two of our symbols in the Lionsgate, two of the key symbols. We've got the gate and the lion and the sun. And this is one where the lion is eating the sun. So what in the world is that, right? What does that mean? We're supposed to eat the sun? Well, not literally, or maybe literally, but that's something that we can expand and see, right? Okay, so note that these are 4 areas of consciousness. Again, how we move through those 4 areas is going to be a figure 8, right? There's these, you draw this grid, right? These These are the four elements. These are the four states of consciousness. They're the four ways of viewing the world. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. And what happens if you move like this? Like we try to go this clockwise, or maybe we try to go counterclockwise, but we keep hitting against these walls and not being able to get through. But the pattern we're shown is this figure 8 that allows us to stay in flow and move between all four quadrants, which interestingly, MDMR, right? Eye movement therapy, they get your eye to go in a figure 8 state. It's because really when you look in each of these four quadrants, if you look up right, up left, down right, you're looking into a different one of these sort of buckets, if you will. So anyway, the figure 8 is another symbol, and it relates here in Jung's, and not just Jung, everyone has something to say about these four directions or four elements or four seasons or four archetypes or four ways of thinking or four ways of seeing. Okay, so that's Jung, and there's so much more there. And now, of course, Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Now, this is interesting. I just got to be scratching my head today as I was thinking about this, and I was like, why? Okay, yeah, that's a name that I don't use a lot, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, right? But that is one of his central names. And so then I got to thinking, well, why the descendant of Judah? He's the fourth son. He's not the oldest son, right? He's not the oldest. He's not the youngest. He's not the most successful. That would be Joseph, right? But Judah was the middle son of his least favorite wife. Right? Nothing special. Like often the middle son just gets lost, right? But I started looking at the genealogy from Judah down to David, and then it goes from David down to Jesus. We have that chronology, that genealogy listed out in the opening of the Gospel of Matthew, right? And here's what I noticed, right? It's a lineage of black sheep mothers. Like if you look at the mothers, you have Tamar, you have Rahab, who was a prostitute, and to her, she ended up she had to sleep with her father-in-law because her father-in-law wouldn't, after marrying her to two of her sons, and that one died, you're supposed to keep marrying him to a brother so that the wife gets taken care of, but he refused to do that, so she dressed up and pretended to be a prostitute, and so Tamar's father-in-law, end up being the father. So this is very, very strange stories, right? Like a lot of moral, sexual ambiguity in there. But that's who got chosen to be the ancestor, the direct line of Judah. This was the first one. This was the first, Judah made love to Tamar as a prostitute, which was also his daughter-in-law that he was refusing. So that's the tribe of Judah. That's who Jesus is from. And then there's also Rahab, who was a prostitute in Jericho, but she hid the Israelite spies, so she got saved. And then there's Ruth, who was also a black sheep. She was, not home. She was a wanderer, but also key to helping save the Israelites, right? So this whole line of black sheep, that's interesting. Jesus really seems to be concerned about the black sheep. He left the 99 white sheep to go get the one black sheep, right? This is really interesting. So what does he say about gates? And for him, the gates, the most important thing he says about gates is that the gate he talks about sheep gates, and that you need to come through the sheep gate. And he says, I am the gate. Jesus says, I am the gate. I am the way. Just like Aslan was the way. But it wasn't just by saying, oh, I said Aslan's name, so now I'm in. It's actually his way of thinking, his way of seeing. And how does he see? Speaking of gates, it's the gates to the whole body. And so when he says, when kind of the heart of the Sermon on the Mount is this section here where he says, He says the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body is full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So it's like the gate is the ability to see. And this is, and then in John 9 and 10, there's the whole healing of the blind. And then after that, the Pharisees say, oh, you can't, you must have done that by Satan's power because you healed this man who was born blind, which means he's a born sinner. And so you shouldn't be doing that. And he says, well, you're the ones that have eyes but don't see. In other words, they're judging with these blind beliefs. So what is it about the gate? The gate has something to do with our perception, or like William Blake says, our doors of perception. If our doors of perception are cleansed, then we will see the world as it is, that is, as infinite, not as finite, looking through cracks, right? And so what is Jesus saying about the gate? Him being the gate for the sheep, but also the gate of the eyes or the ears, right? The ears is really crucial. And here's another key thing, right? So the next thing, which is really interesting, is that the ears can be the gate, right? The ears are the gate, because also in that section where he's talking about the sheep and being the shepherd, in John 10:27, he says, my sheep hear my voice and I know them, right? And also going back to Aslan, there's an Aesop's fable where this donkey was wearing a lion skin. Same thing. Oh, look who I am. I'm great. And when the donkey started talking, everyone thought he was a lion until he started talking. But then everyone knew he was a donkey because, he started, sounding like an ass, right? So an ass reveals who he is by his words, what he says, how he says it. And that is why the donkey up here in C.S. Lewis, that's why this donkey would not talk to anyone, right? I'm not going to have a conversation. You just have to look by me. And then this, the mediator, the priest or whomever said, oh, this is what Jesus says. So we're not actually talking to Jesus. We don't get to hear his voice. But if we would just take the wax out of our ears, Jesus also said, let him, you have ears, but you don't hear. So we just need to open the doors of our perception so that we can hear, just really talk to Jesus. This is a lion. How do I know it's a lion? Well, it looks like a lion. Okay, well, Little Red Riding Hood's grandma the wolf also looked like grandma, but it didn't. And when she actually opened her eyes and would start listening, you don't sound like grandma. Your eyes are bigger. Everything's bigger. Your teeth are bigger. If she would have opened her eyes and believed her eyes and be able to update her beliefs, then she would have been okay. But when we encounter someone that says, this is what Jesus said, right? Like, well, when's the last time you updated that belief? And are you listening to Jesus? Does that sound like Jesus? Right? Does that sound like something Jesus would say? We know his voice. He speaks love, right? He speaks love. Love others as you love yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's it. You don't need, the other rules. It's kind of like Augustine. Love God and do as you please. And all these thousands of rules, that was what the Pharisees were doing, right? So if a person is trying to control us with all these rules and beliefs and exclusions, then it's a good sign that is, we can tell it by its voice. So we need to have conversations with each other. And we'll know it if our ears are open, our ear gates and our eye gates, right? Our ear gates and our eye gates are the keys here. Okay, so that's that, and we'll talk about these 4 ways of seeing, which are really crucial. 4 ways of reading. There's people that are that can read one level, and that's monolexia, and then there's people that can read 2 levels. That's dialectia, and then there's trilectia. That's where the magic happens. When you can read 3 levels at a time, that's amazing. And then when you can read the 3 levels with the story, it's like it opens up another eye, and you can read your experience through the eyes of the story, which is the 4th eye. Then you can see the 5th dimension. So the key to being able to go through that door and not be disoriented and not be overwhelmed is let's just open our eyes and look through all of our senses, our ears, our eyes, everything. So what do we do? What do we do? I've been reflecting on that all day today and leading up to this, and actually my whole lifetime. And Jesus says, you don't know the day or the hour of my return. And even he didn't know, because it's more like a poker game. Life has probabilities, not necessities. And so he said, I don't know the day or the hour. He says, I don't know the day or the hour, but I know the season. So we're in the season, folks, right? This is the season. Everything's pointing to it. So, and this day is opening, and the sun is acting crazy, and there was this huge comet yesterday. Oh my gosh, I'll get a video of it, but this comet just like exploded, or it activated itself, and even though it's only like a kilometer in size, or it expanded in light to the size of 1.5 times bigger than Jupiter, right? And it's not far from us, and it's just like you could see it if you had binoculars. It just boom, huge, and it was green, and I saw images of it expanding, and it looks like a green lion. So there's all these actual physical signs, right? The wise men saw the star. They looked in the star when Jesus was born. They were, that's part of the story. The wise men can see and look and read the signs. There are signs. So I invite us to open our eyes, open our ears, and to help each other remember the story, and help us remember, why did we come here? What game are we playing? Who am I? And where is home? Where is home? Right? Is this Shadowland little box that we're in? Is this home? Is this cocoon that we're in? Is this home? Or is there something bigger and better? All right. And so I invite you Monday night, August 10th, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll gather. And if you're interested in this, just text me, DM me, and say Lionsgate, and I will send you a link to that, and we will have a very lively and mutually uplifting sort of discovery of a conversation. So thank you. I love you. I'm so excited. I've never had such a sense of anticipation as right now. We are in a really exciting time. It's like the day before Christmas. So let's lighten our hearts and enjoy the ride.